Have I ever jolted awake, soaked in perspiration from a dream so intense it felt like an omen? I'm not referring to those commonplace dreams about being unprepared for work or missing essential attire. No, this sensation runs deeper, more instinctual, as if the cosmos itself is murmuring a caution, something significant approaches. Because at times, a dream transcends mere mental imagery, it serves as a forewarning. I might dismiss it with laughter, shake off the feeling, attribute it to a late-night spicy meal. But then the experience recurs. The identical symbol, the sensation of falling, the same obscure shadow lingering just beyond perception. A friend of mine, Michael, experienced dreams of drowning for 3 consecutive nights. Serene waters, a silent downward pull. He'd awaken struggling for breath. The following week, his physician discovered a pulmonary embolism near his lungs. Silent, lethal. He was fortunate. Many are not. In this presentation, we aren't dealing in metaphors. We are dissecting 5 specific dream types that, across various cultures and throughout history, have been interpreted as harbingers of death, not solely physical demise, but also spiritual death, the end of relationships, even the cessation of purpose. These accounts aren't intended to frighten me. They are meant to awaken me, literally and spiritually. So do yourself a service. Resist the urge to skip sections. Watch this presentation in its entirety. My future self might owe me more than simple gratitude. It might owe me everything. And if I find this wisdom valuable, I should hit that subscribe button. Join this exploration, because while knowledge might not alter fate, it will undoubtedly prepare me for it. Let's begin. Dream 1, endless falling into darkness. When deeply asleep, experiencing the sudden sensation of plummeting through space often causes the body to jolt awake, as if narrowly avoiding death. This is a common phenomenon. Most of us have felt that abrupt startle, the brain misinterpreting signals, believing we are falling from a height. Typically, it signifies nothing serious. However, not all dreams of falling are identical. There exists one variant, darker and quieter, which ancient civilizations regarded with utmost seriousness. In this type, there is no landing, no panicked awakening. Instead, I fall perpetually into silence, into blackness. And after the initial fear subsides, a peculiar sense of peace emerges. That peace, it isn't genuine comfort. It's a significant warning sign. Because this specific dream archetype, they believed, wasn't merely the mind playing tricks. It represented the soul rehearsing its departure from the physical body. For over 3,000 years, Egyptian dream priests documented this exact vision, interpreting it as the soul detaching, drifting towards the boundary between the corporeal and the eternal. But even more unsettling is the body's response upon waking, not characterized by sweat or a racing pulse like typical dreams, but by a profound, bone-deep coldness, particularly in the hands and feet, a stillness that isn't restorative. It feels hollow, as if life is slowly being withdrawn from the body's extremities. In contemporary psychological understanding, this could be seen as the nervous system subtly signaling internal malfunctions, silent cardiac issues, hidden neurological problems. Yet, the Stoics held a simpler truth. Nature communicates subtly before escalating, and wise men heed those initial whispers. Let me share the story of Everett, a 58-year-old truck mechanic from Indiana. Stoic in nature, gruff in demeanor, he wasn't inclined towards dream interpretation or metaphysical pursuits. But one winter, he began experiencing the same dream repeatedly. He was falling, not through air, but through black water, cold, seemingly bottomless, utterly silent. What disturbed him wasn't the fear, but the calmness accompanying it. Each morning he awoke without panic, yet his hands felt like ice, his feet numb, a chill penetrating deep into his bones. He mentioned it to his brother, who dismissed it. He spoke to his pastor, who suggested potential spiritual conflict. But then he recounted it to a retired VA doctor at his church, who immediately insisted on a medical scan. The findings revealed a near-complete arterial blockage in his left leg, silently beginning to affect blood flow to his heart. The specialist stated bluntly, "Had you waited a few more weeks, you likely would have passed away in your sleep." Everett didn't label it divine intervention. He didn't even call it fate. But he unequivocally termed it a lesson. In his own words, "I used to think death was something that happened all at once, but now I think it starts slowly, quietly, like a voice you only hear when you're still enough to listen." That kind of clarity, that stark acknowledgement of life's fragility, aligns precisely with what Stoic philosophy encourages us to embrace. Marcus Aurelius cautioned against wasting time debating the definition of a good man, urging instead to be one urgently. This includes recognizing when to take warnings seriously, whether originating from the body, the mind, or something more ancient than both. So, if I've experienced this type of dream, perpetual falling, no impact, uncanny calm, cold extremities, I must not disregard it. This isn't mere superstition. It's ancient wisdom corroborated by millennia of quiet observation. Consult a spiritual guide. Seek medical evaluation. Pursue both because the objective isn't solely preventing death. It's cultivating a deeper reverence for life. And in a world often desensitizing us to our own mortality, sometimes only a dream can truly awaken us. Dream 2. Deceased loved ones inviting you to follow. An interesting historical note. Ancient Roman soldiers interpreted dreams featuring the deceased as battlefield omens. If a fallen comrade appeared silently, it signified protection. However, if the comrade spoke and extended a hand, it indicated impending death. These weren't considered mere superstitions. They were viewed as warnings enveloped in silence, conveyed through affection. We tend to perceive dreams as innocuous, brief mental films, peculiar but ultimately meaningless. And largely they are, particularly those involving visits from departed loved ones. These can offer comfort, even moments of healing, allowing us to feel connected to someone missed, if only briefly. Yet, across ancient traditions, Stoic writings, indigenous narratives, and modern psychological case studies, a recurring exception emerges. A dream possessing an undeniable gravity. A dream concluding not with an embrace but with an invitation. The critical distinction lies in the deceased's intent. Are they simply manifesting, or are they beckoning me to accompany them? That demarcates comfort from a spiritual red flag. And when this invitation is presented, whether symbolized by a doorway, a table prepared for me, a bed being arranged, or a path they urge me to tread, it transcends poetic symbolism. It represents symbolic preparation. Consider the experience of Robert, a retired firefighter from upstate New York. Renowned for his mental fortitude and physical resilience, Robert wasn't predisposed to entertaining notions beyond the tangible. Yet 2 months following his older brother's death, the dreams commenced. Initially, they were serene, his brother seated on their childhood porch enjoying coffee. Then a shift occurred. His brother stood at the terminus of a path leading into the woods behind their home. Night after night, he silently gestured for Robert to follow. At first, Robert dismissed it as emotional processing, but the dream recurred with uncanny consistency. One night, his brother had prepared a seat beside him at a previously non-existent table. Robert awoke chilled to the core, hands clenched, breathing shallow. His wife urged him to consult a local pastor who had prior experience as a hospital chaplain. The pastor didn't dismiss his concerns. Instead, he listened attentively, asked pertinent questions, and gently recommended Robert undergo a comprehensive cardiac evaluation. The examination revealed a rapidly expanding aortic aneurysm, silent, invisible, yet potentially lethal. Emergency surgery ensued. Robert narrowly survived. Now, years later, he doesn't classify those dreams as supernatural. He refers to them as an act of mercy. From a Stoic perspective, these instances aren't about irrational fear, they concern awareness. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that nature operates logically, whispering before it roars. Ignoring warning signs, whether physical or spiritual, constitutes arrogance. Paying attention, however, signifies wisdom. The Stoic doesn't cling desperately to life in panic, nor does he carelessly step towards death. Psychologically, the danger inherent in these dreams lies in their emotional appeal. They are saturated with longing and love. The very element that sanctified the relationship now becomes the conduit for a kind of spiritual enticement. I'm not compelled by fear, but drawn by affection, and that very aspect makes dismissal easy. The subconscious, interacting with unresolved grief, can open pathways reason alone cannot seal. This highlights the criticality of external counsel. Guidance is needed, spiritual, medical, or both, from someone capable of perceiving the terrain of my soul clearly when my own vision is obscured by emotion. The deceased don't reach out with harmful intent. Often their appearance signifies lingering love, but love doesn't always equate to a green light. When they prepare a place for me, it doesn't signify my readiness. It signifies my vulnerability. These dreams aren't about fatalism, they're about potential intervention. And if I take them seriously, acting by seeking guidance, verifying my health, grounding myself in reality rather than mere feeling, I honor both their love and my own life. This marks the second of 5 dreams signaling potential soul-level risk. Not predetermined doom, but a precarious state. And for those willing to confront that discomfort directly, without flinching, Stoicism offers firm support. Face what is feared. Name it. Prepare for it, not with panic, but with principle. Because fear ignored potentially becomes fate, but fear understood that transforms into strength. Dream 3, drowning with surrender and strange physical reactions. Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. Marcus Aurelius. He didn't compose those words to induce fear. He wrote them for preparation, reminding us that the body communicates subtly long before it cries out, and close listening might just preserve our lives. Nowhere is this more pertinent than in the third cautionary dream. We need to discuss the drowning dream. Not the typical scenario involving struggling against waves or gasping for breath upon surfacing. This variant is darker, quieter, and considerably more perilous. In this dream, I do not resist the water. I yield to it. I sink slowly, deliberately, as if an internal part of me has accepted the descent. I remain aware, fully conscious, even lucid, observing bubbles escaping my lips. The light above dims, the water grows colder. Panic is absent, replaced by a strange, eerie tranquility. That very calm serves as the warning. Unlike typical nightmares jolting me awake fearfully, this one permits lingering. And upon finally opening my eyes, the experience persists. A pressure on my chest, constricted breathing, a dry metallic taste in my mouth. These aren't mere symbolic dream remnants. They are physical indicators. My body's early warning system attempting to capture my attention. And in Stoic terms, they represent a lesson in humility. I am not invincible. I am not impervious. The vessel carrying my soul can break down quietly while I sleep. Modern neuroscience is beginning to corroborate what ancient wisdom intuited. The body and subconscious communicate in ways the conscious mind frequently dismisses. My brain receives signals during sleep, minor oxygen fluctuations, subtle cardiac irregularities, and translates them into the language of dreams. And what metaphor better represents suffocation than drowning? Not the violent struggle, but the slow, resigned kind. The kind where breath departs the body not through exertion, but in stillness. This is not the type of dream to disregard. Not when it recurs, not when accompanied by physical symptoms. Because, as the Stoics taught, the wise man doesn't await disaster to validate concerns. He acts, prepares, investigates, seeks counsel from those more knowledgeable, whether physician or spiritual guide. And he does so without shame because self-preservation isn't cowardice, it's clarity. Breath holds sacred significance across traditions. Stoic, Hindu, Christian, Native American. It symbolizes life itself. The Romans termed it spiritus, the Greeks pneuma. Breath isn't merely air, it's my soul in motion. So when my dream presents the image of losing it, that message isn't to be postponed. That is my summons to awaken. Not just from slumber, but from neglect, pride, or the illusion that the body requires no attention until collapse. Therefore, if I awaken from such a dream with chest tightness and a dry mouth, I must not dismiss it. I shouldn't rationalize it as merely a bad night or indigestion. A Stoic confronts reality as it is, not as wished, and sometimes reality gently nudges me during sleep, conveying, take this seriously before it's too late. Dream 4. Attending your own funeral. There exists a dream so profoundly unsettling, so quietly disturbing, that many men endeavor to forget it upon waking. Yet doing so would constitute a grave error. Dreaming of my own funeral, observing my own death rites as an external spectator, transcends a mere reminder of mortality. It may represent one of the most potent spiritual warnings a human can receive. This marks the fourth of 5 death omens demanding serious consideration. And irrespective of how modern or rational I perceive myself, this ancient signal warrants my full awareness. Because throughout history, across continents and centuries, individuals who disregarded this dream often paid the ultimate price. What distinguishes this dream from a morbid nightmare is its distinct clarity. The setting possesses a surreal vividness. Whether depicting a serene, perfect sky or a violent, unnatural tempest, I'll notice unfamiliar mourners alongside familiar faces, all silently grieving a version of me no longer breathing. Most unnerving is the perspective. Observing the event unfold not from within my own body, but externally, detached, as if witnessing the conclusion of another's narrative. Yet, deep down, I recognize it as my own. Psychologically, this dream represents the unconscious confronting the fragility of existence, delivering the message not through fear, but through silence. This is the mind's sober reflection, where illusions of invincibility dissolve, leaving only the stark truth. Life is transient, and time perpetually advances. For the Stoic, this dream isn't alien. Marcus Aurelius daily contemplated death, not to indulge in morbidity, but to sharpen his sense of urgency. To him, memento mori, remember you will die, wasn't a threat. It served as a tool, a practice fostering awareness. But this funeral dream elevates that concept. It doesn't merely prompt contemplation of death. It allows me to witness it, feel its implications, observe the consequences of an incomplete life unfolding. And herein lies the transformation of warning into opportunity. Interpreted correctly, with guidance from a trusted spiritual advisor and attention to the body's own signals, it can serve as a pivotal moment, redirecting not just from potential physical harm, but towards a more profound way of living. Because when the mind clearly perceives death, the soul often begins to live more truthfully. I must not dismiss this dream lightly. If I've envisioned myself buried, mourned, or eulogized during sleep and the experience felt lucid, strange, and still, I must not delay action. This isn't paranoia, it's perception. My spirit attempting communication through imagery before my body loses its capacity to speak altogether. The Stoic knows death awaits no one, but he also recognizes warnings as gifts, cold, quiet, and potentially life-saving. Listen. Act while time permits. Dream 5. Watching your body decay or transform. Certain dreams don't startle with terror but disturb with silence, a stillness permeating the bones, leaving a vague impression of internal unraveling. Among all the dream omens explored, this final one, where my own body undergoes change, dissolution, or decay while my mind remains fully cognizant, is perhaps the most mystically potent and psychologically revealing. It doesn't scream, it observes, inviting me to do likewise. These dreams differ from typical scenarios like teeth falling out or public nudity. This experience feels more intimate, more layered. I might witness my hand turning to ash, or my skin becoming transparent. I might look into a mirror and observe a version of myself slowly morphing into something unrecognizable. Yet the most haunting aspect is maintaining lucidity throughout. Aware, watching, detached yet disturbed. Across spiritual traditions, this dream holds sacred significance, interpreted as a message from a deeper consciousness, warning of internal misalignment. Let me share the account of Gerald, a retired Air Force pilot and father of 3, a man not easily frightened. In his view, dreams were mere brain static. That perspective shifted after a recurring vision, his right arm transforming into black smoke, drifting away as he stood in his garage, observing his own piecemeal disappearance. He didn't awaken sweating, he awoke still, cold and quiet. Initially, he dismissed it, but the dream returned twice more, identical each time. No pain, no panic, just the quiet disintegration of a body part while his mind passively observed. His wife urged consultation with their pastor. The pastor, a former Navy chaplain, didn't label it prophetic but acknowledged its precision. He advised Gerald to undergo a cardiac checkup. The examination revealed advanced vascular narrowing in the arteries of his right shoulder and chest, a condition sufficiently dangerous to precipitate a heart attack. Timely intervention saved his life. That dream, whether classified as spiritual or psychological, served as the critical signal. From a Stoic perspective, this dream confronts the inevitable. Bodily decay is nature's law. However, when the mind remains calm during such decay, witnessing rather than rebelling, a different message emerges, one demanding response, not avoidance. The wise man, as Epictetus taught, doesn't fear the natural, but he listens attentively. He prepares. He acts without delay when indicators are clear. Transformation dreams are seldom random. They often mirror real physical imbalances, subtle system breakdowns typically ignored. The specific body area undergoing change in the dream usually corresponds to the location of the underlying issue. The detachment felt during the dream isn't peace, it's disconnection. A warning: if I've ever experienced this type of vision and dismissed it as mere fantasy, reconsideration is warranted. The convergence of ancient spiritual insight and modern health psychology is evident. These dreams aren't superstition, they are signals. Heed them while remediation remains possible. Helpful pieces of advice. Unlike vague signs often dismissed, these cautionary dreams aren't merely symbolic. They possess precision. They don't just vaguely suggest something is amiss. They pinpoint the issue. They direct my attention towards my heart, lungs, spine, my very spirit. And if I possess the wisdom to listen, they offer not just a hint of survival, but the possibility itself. This isn't mysticism for its own sake. It's a map charted by the unconscious, an internal alert system passed down through generations long predating modern scans or blood tests. Taking these dreams seriously doesn't signify regression into superstition. It represents reconnecting with an innate wisdom our ancestors depended upon when possessing only the stars and their intuition. We've now journeyed together through 5 dream types historically linked, in real instances, to predicting heart conditions, neurological diseases, spiritual crises, and more. These aren't simple bedtime tales. They are coded warnings, subtle, surreal, and sacred. The dream of falling into darkness, of ancestors beckoning my hand, of drowning not with panic but surrender, of observing my own funeral, of witnessing my body disintegrate while remaining aware. Each, if documented and interpreted correctly, holds the potential to alter my life's trajectory. Not eventually. Now, let me reiterate the story of Gerald, a retired Air Force pilot and father of 3, a man not easily intimidated. In his view, dreams were brain static. This changed following a recurring vision, his right arm dissolving into black smoke as he stood observing in his garage. He awoke not sweating, but still, cold, quiet. Initially dismissed, the identical dream recurred twice more. No pain, no panic, just the quiet collapse observed by a passive mind. His wife insisted he consult their pastor. The pastor, an ex-Navy chaplain, deemed it not prophetic but precise. He advised Gerald seek cardiac evaluation. Tests revealed advanced vascular narrowing in his right shoulder and chest arteries, sufficiently dangerous to cause a heart attack. Intervention saved his life. That dream, regardless of label, spiritual or psychological, was the signal. So now I know. These aren't mere dreams, they are warnings. 5 ancient signals integrated into my consciousness, quietly attempting to preserve my life before irreversible events occur. The endless fall, the deceased calling my name, the drowning that feels unnervingly calm. The funeral where I am the central figure, the slow decay of my own body observed by a helpless mind. They aren't random, and they must not be ignored. If even one resonates with familiarity, I must not delay. Consult someone, a spiritual advisor, a medical professional, or both. Because ignoring these dreams isn't merely foolish, it's perilous. And let's be frank, the cost of taking action pales in comparison to the cost of inaction. My journey doesn't conclude here. In fact, this might represent the first instance of truly paying attention. The subsequent step? It awaits. The algorithm, call it fate, call it divine synchronicity, has already selected my next message. Click the suggested video appearing on my screen now. Don't question it. Don't postpone. Allow wisdom to guide me deeper into protection, clarity, and heightened awareness. If I found this valuable, I should hit that subscribe button. Join a growing community of individuals finally awakening before it's potentially too late.